welcome. My name is Monica, and welcome to BlitzBe Today. I am here with Kay and Shila, who are sisters, and I will let you ladies tell our viewers about yourselves. Go ahead.
Well, hello everyone, and thank you so much for tuning in today. My name is Kay Salerno.
And I'm Shila Morris, and we are sisters, we are business partners, we are best friends, and we are twins in spirit, as we like to say, just sisters by regular old blood. But probably what we spend the most of our time on is our family business, which is a breakfast and lunch restaurant chain in the West Coast of the US. It's called The Squeeze Inn. It's famous for best omelets on the planet. And back in 2003, our family purchased the single failing location in Truckee, California. And now here we are 17 years later. We've got 11 locations across 4 states. Our parents have retired and we actively run the company. So that's our big girl job, but we've got a lot of other passions and things going as well.
Yeah, well, in addition to, of course, multi-entrepreneurial passions, we get the honor of serving as the Maxwell Method of Marketing faculty members for the John Maxwell team, which is a team of coaches, speakers, and trainers across the globe, which is incredible and such an honor. And I think one of the biggest honors of our lives, of course, is to be moms to our wonderful children. Shila has 3 and I have 1, and wives to our very kind, supportive husbands.
Excellent. Thank you, ladies. It sounds like in the last 17 years, your lives have transitioned and changed a lot from not being restaurant owners to being restaurant owners, and then having your parents retire and then getting married and having children. So it's been quite the journey. So you gave us a little bit about what you do today. So where can our viewers find you online?
You can find us, of course, on Instagram, Facebook, or Twitter at Kay and Shy. That's at KAYANDSHI. Or you can head over to our website, kayandshy.com. That's that same K and Shy spelled out. And then you can also catch our podcast. Find us on Spotify, Podbean, or on iTunes for our daily 5-minute podcast called The Mentorship Quest, where we take you from quote to quest in 5 minutes or less.
Excellent. 5 minutes sounds good. I don't know if we have so little time, but sometimes our attention spans are kind of short. So 5 minutes sounds like a great thing that people could actually fit into their day. Thank you.
What's the desire?
Yeah. So tell me a little bit about your big dream, maybe separately or together. What is the big dream?
Well, definitely the dream is together. Wasn't joking about the best friends part. And we really enjoy doing life together and being partners in business, and hope that it helps illuminate that for others. We really see a lot of synergy and energy and strength in having partnerships that are strong. Of course, if you come from a dysfunctional family, don't open a family business. But if you have a solid relationship with somebody and good communication boundaries and those things, having a partner feels so good. You are so supported. You can accomplish more. You can really go farther and bring in more perspective and more strength in a way that's just got more dimension than going it alone. So we're big fans of partnerships. And so of course our big dream is in partnership together.
Yes. And in regards to that big dream, we really have a passion for finding ways to energize and delight other people. Now that might be through the restaurants. We're energizing you right at the beginning of your day and delighting you with an incredible experience. Or it might be through our personal growth and development efforts and helping people to find more energy in their lives and delight more in the gift that is what we get to do here as humans.
I love that. Thank you. And I love the partnership. I also, BlitzBe is a partnership with my business partner, and I have the same thing. The communication is really important, and it is expansive when you have a partner and you have someone who's got your back and who you can lean on. And maybe some days, one of you isn't as on your game as well as the other days, or things happen and we need each other. So that's awesome. So as you're chasing your big dream in business and your personal life, because there is a difference between our business and our personal lives, but who we are in our business is who we are in our life, and who we are at home is who we are. It's just who we are. And so as you're chasing that big dream, what do you figure out is your biggest challenge?
There's so many things along the way, and I love, in response to what's the one thing that'll make you successful. The one thing is there isn't one thing. And so I think that probably the meta answer is knowing that there will be challenges, and then getting, as we like to say, strong enough to bear the burden of the blessing that you're asking for, because every blessing or every dream comes with a price, comes with a cost, comes with an exchange. And if we're not clear on what that exchange is, oftentimes we can find ourselves down a path that we're making an exchange we didn't bargain for, or that we're not ready to give up. And I think that's one of the saddest places people can be. So definitely anticipate that there are challenges ahead. And what we do in order to address those challenges is really to develop ourselves and our faculties in a way that build skills that might not necessarily come to mind at first. Resilience, right? More articulate communication, being able to delegate better. So the things where we're really trying to build those things, because we know that the burden of the blessing that we're asking for is probably pretty heavy. We want to help people develop themselves and grow their characters and feel fulfillment and find purpose. And that's a messy path that all humans were meant to walk, but many of us don't or shy away from. And so wanting to do that and help others means that's a heavy burden that will come with lots of challenges, both specific and large.
Yeah. I hear you there. And we just don't know what shows up on our path and what's standing in our way sometimes. And so being able to be flexible and understanding that it's a challenge. And
right. I mean, it's kind of like that. The biggest challenge is don't wish it were easy or wish you were better. So like try and make yourself better, make ourselves more resilient, or just get through it, right? Like so much of what's happening in the world is just from quitting. And it gets hard and things suck. And that growth happens outside of your comfort zone, but no one's telling you what uncomfortable actually looks like. So when you feel uncomfortable for your specific situation, it makes you want to retract in such an evolutionary way that we instantly forget that growth happens outside of our comfort zone.
Well, I think it illuminated for us this whole path that we have influence if maybe we focus on some of those skills that don't seem obvious, right? Like it's not learning how to build a landing page, but it's learning how to habitually seek to understand somebody before you just barrel in with a response or with a reaction. So these kinds of more social emotional skills really character building that have helped us along the way, because the ups and downs happen regardless, and what you do in the midst of that, and whether you stop and backslide, it's really up to you and how much resilience you can bear.
Yeah. And I hear personal responsibility, taking personal responsibility for the ups and downs and riding the wave and sticking with it and really being resilient to holding on and staying true to that big dream.
Now, personal responsibility is not to be confused with self-flogging and saying, well, this horrible thing is happening right now, or something's really bad in my life, and therefore it's because of me. Because many of us say, well, I take personal accountability for everything. I feel horrible for all the bad things that are going on in my life. But taking personal responsibility means that while you're in the midst of the horrible things that are going on, you're taking responsibility for how you feel and how you respond to those circumstances, not saying, well, I take 100% accountability for everything that's happening. It's not quite like that.
The other place that we see that getting confused too is that difference between fault and responsibility. But it's not my fault. It's not a lot of the things that happen aren't your fault.
COVID is not your fault.
Right. But it's your responsibility to lead your life, your business, your family through the situation of COVID. So sometimes I think people get hung up on the word responsibility because they think it equates fault. But when we separate those out, it can help us really understand where responsibility can be a much more empowering approach to things rather than a disempowering excuse.
Beautiful. Yeah, I love that. That's gorgeous. So tell me a little bit about something about your story, how you got to where you are, other than, you did say that your parents decided to buy a restaurant and then all of a sudden you were in a restaurant business. And how did you, maybe just a short story about how you got to where you are and maybe something you learned along the way.
Yeah. Well, like Shila said at the beginning, when I was 10 and she was 17, our parents purchased the restaurant. So we were really young. So we literally went from cheer practice to baking biscuits, from, discussing as a family what our next weekend outing was going to be, to discussing what the schedule at the restaurant and the accounts were looking like all together. And so we really took on this approach of, as kids, we were now involved in the business very heavily. I mean, our parents involved the family in everything. We've been an all-in family, like since we've always been an all-in family. And so this was something we went all in together. So Shila and I got to build a lot of skills and a lot of resilience along the way. And I was actually just thinking about this. I was ruminating a little bit this morning that experience, customer service is really hard. If you have never been in the guest service, as we like to say, industry, it's tough and people's expectations are high. And when you're 10 or 11 or 17 or 18 and you don't really have very much experience, and all of a sudden, day in, day out, it's not only your job, but your very family's legacy and responsibility and image on the line, you adapt very quickly and you get put into this hot fire that pressurizes you socially very fast, because you're having to learn how to deal with every kind of Karen at a very young age.
All kinds of criticism. What's funny is to hear, back when I was 17 and Kate was 10, mom and dad bought a restaurant, but it's not like they just bought a restaurant. Mm-hmm. Like they cashed in their savings in retirement, they quit their careers, they passed the hat around the family, called in every favor they could, got everything together and put everything on the line to buy a restaurant. No, we were not restaurant people before that. Mom worked at an ad agency and dad was a landscaper. And when I was born, they were on food stamps and welfare. So we we literally had the front row seat to the American dream through our entire childhood, both working through first getting that GED and then getting the college education. And, there's 9-year-old me and 2-year-old Kay, and we're going along with mom on job interviews and helping. So we really saw that front row seat. And then as they kind of came through the corporate side of things, then they got this dream, that's a whole story in and of itself, but they pass the hat and do all the things and push all the chips in, and we go all in on being a restaurant family. So it was a huge seismic family shift that changed our front row seat from just the American dream kind of to that American entrepreneurial dream front row seat. And you're washing dishes and baking biscuits and washing aprons and taking orders and all of those things as well. So it's been a very compressed learning situation, but it's, kudos to our parents. And we always say that for the incredible example that they've set for us, the incredible lessons that they've shown us. While other kids were hearing Cinderella, we were hearing the 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. Our mom has always been very personal growth, personal responsibility, self-development focused. And so gave us that passion and love, but then also demonstrated those values and practices across the family story. And there's the roller coaster of we were in the New York Times, and then we almost lost it all, and mom and dad moved into the living room, and then we were on Food Network, and then, we've had some crazy fights and some almost financial runway burn downs and those kinds of things. And so there's been the drama is real. But what we found along the journey, right? It's still definitely real. But what we found along the journey is those kind of character development pieces that we couldn't trade for anything else, and that have given us so much to go out and do other things. We're actually involved in another launch on the marketing side of things with the JMT, and there's feedback with any type of launch. You have feedback, and everyone's like, "Are you guys okay?" And we're like, "Do you forget we're restaurant owners? We deal with Yelp, we deal with hundreds of people on a Saturday, we deal with Mother's Day people. Trust, we're good." Those first few Yelp reviews back in 2008 hurt so bad, but at this point we understand, and we can use them as training tools, and really do have found a way to embrace it, to make some of our worst critics our best cheerleaders, and that's been a gift all in of itself, even though it's a bit of a silver lining one.
Wow, yeah, that's quite a ride. And it sounds like you're taking all that learning in, and you've taken it in and used it, even though sometimes the learning was negative. I can't remember who said it, but when we really, really fail big is when we really grow the most. And so it sounds like there have been some failures which have allowed you to grow, and you've used those to grow for yourselves as people, and then as business people also.
Well, is it Les Brown who says that the setback is the setup for the comeback?
Mm-hmm.
That's beautiful. Yeah. So is there a story you could share about someone that you have supported during any point in time, and then maybe what happened around that?
So in April of 2019, we asked for the managers of our locations, and this was pre-COVID, so we had all of them together in a meeting, and we asked all of them to prepare a 1-minute speech on something that they were passionate about that they could share with the group. And it was such a fun exercise. We had everything from oil changes to someone's impassioned love of cows,
horseback riding, Beyonce,
all kinds of stuff. But one of the speeches that really stood out to us was a gentleman of ours who came from doing social work and had said one of his big passions was around the homeless teen population here in our community, specifically the 18 to 24-year-old population. Here in Washoe County, we're in Nevada, we have the highest per capita rate of homeless 18 to 24-year-olds in the nation. And Nevada as a state has a very bad issue with trafficking. And so we are really in a place where we're uniquely positioned as a restaurant in this community who has a lot of reach within community members to maybe do something for these kids. So we took Ian's cry for help for this group of people, that's the name of the manager, and we turned it into what we called the panty drop. So we did a panty drop underwear drive for the Eddie House, which is a local organization that serves this population, the 18 to 24-year-old teens, because we went to them and we said, well, what do you guys need? You get given food, you get given all kinds of things. What do you need? And they said, well, the thing that doesn't get donated the most is underwear. And the kids really need it because they're wearing things that they've had since they were 10 or 12. And now they're 16, 17, 18, and it just doesn't fit. And it's very degrading for them to be in these years old underwear. So we did this big drive for them. We collected over 500 individual pieces of underwear for the Eddie House, bras, panties, boxers, the whole thing. And it was all inspired by Ian coming forward and having that conversation. So we were able to support our managers by giving them a voice within the tribe. We were able to support a specific manager by then supporting something he cared about. And then we were able to support our community by doing something that could really count. And then a year later, we took a tour of the Eddie House and they said, we still have some of the underwear left over. It serviced us all year long. And they served thousands of kids in our community. So it was really such a pleasure to get to do that.
You know, another story that pops to mind for me is in 2018, we rolled out a new point of sale system, which is the computer system in a restaurant that they use to put in your orders. So probably most of you who are watching or listening are used to the traditional, somebody writes it down on a pad of paper and then goes to a computer screen and puts it in. You've likely seen now that we're definitely moving in the digital direction of putting it directly into an iPad. Well, we started this process in 2018. We saw that this is the future. This is the way things are going. It would eliminate accuracy issues. It would be this great thing. So we decided to transition from writing on a piece of paper and going to a computer screen to holding an iPad and putting in the order right there at the side of the table. So still a full service experience, but the order goes in right when the server takes your order. So it's pretty seamless and nice, really eliminates a lot of issues. It was the right move, but we chose the wrong partner. So we roll out this software that did not have the depth that we were looking for.
It was designed for food trucks.
So we like to say, you know, our point of sale system, our POS was a real POS, a piece of software that gave us a lot of headache. And ultimately it was going down in flames and our team was really upset. And we had a full all hands meeting come together with our almost 100 associates in person. And one of our associates raised his hand and stood up and said, what are you going to do about the morale situation? Like, we're not happy. We don't feel supported and listened to. Our guests are in our face. Like, what are you going to do to address it? And that was really hard to face in front of everyone. And we know the system is failing and flailing. And we brought in now a new software, but now it's this whole new learning curve. And it was really, really hard. And that was a real defining moment for us. You know, we worked through it in front of the group with the individual, like, what do you suggest? And we understand, and we would never want this for you. And it was the wrong partner. And just having that honesty and that open discussion in front of the group and fostering an environment where someone feels safe enough to raise their hand and say, what are you going to do about the morale situation here? Was one of those moments I know that was really defining for us. And the great news is we came through it. The new software is amazing. Everyone on our team loves it. It's increased all
including
the
guy.
Including the guy. And the big win is the guy now works here in our headquarters office as helping with operational things like rollouts like that.
He became an even bigger cheerleader.
Even bigger cheerleader. So one of those situations where you could take that biggest failure and turn it into some of your biggest wins.
Yeah. Wow, that sounds like it was a bit overwhelming for a moment, but then it sounds like the two of you and the team worked through it. And
I feel like a bit overwhelming for the moment is like an every other week occurrence.
It's a lot of stuff that happens in the restaurant industry. You got to really like the food and beverage industry.
You have got to go
into it. Otherwise, you can make more money for less headache in other industries.
Yeah.
So thank you for coming to our sales pitch on restaurants.
Got it. Okay. So in terms of all of the headaches and all of the overwhelm as entrepreneurs, how do you care for yourselves? How do you manage, personally as the entrepreneur, how do you manage that for yourselves?
Well, luckily, Shila and I share a lot of interests. So a couple of things. First off, we are very intentional about making sure that we go or participate in personal growth and development type events at least 2 or 3 times per year. And we hold them for our teams to not just grow them as leaders, but to grow them as people. We're always engaging in content. We're always adding more in that way energetically to our lives, because what those kinds of events and things will help you do often is just reorient back to what it is that you want to be doing, how you want to be carrying yourself in the world. And so we're really intentional about ensuring. In fact, we have one coming up here in about a week or a month that we're going to be going to a remote location, going to a hotel up in Tahoe, having the virtual event up and doing it from remote so that we can super plug in. And the other thing is that we've always been very good about finding time for things like exercise, reading, and family.
Well, I think lots of people ask us, how do you guys get it all done? And our answer is always, we don't. We have a huge team and support network, and that is how we get so much done. So very supportive husbands. I'm the one with 3 kids. And they're all 10 and under. I have a nanny who's been with us since the twins were 6 weeks old. I call her my co-mom. She travels with us. I could not have done those kinds of things without that kind of support. And then in the business internally, finding people who have those complementary strengths as us. You want vision, you want inspiration, you want tactical
strategic thinking
and solutions finding. That we're your gals. But if you want a detail oriented execution plan with implementation arms and a spreadsheet, we're going to drop that ball. So making sure that our team is stacked so that it complements our deck has helped us a lot. And we haven't always gotten that right, but we're getting better at it. And then, I think that going through so much character development and puts that responsibility on ourselves. So we are intentional about how we spend our time. Both of us wake up at 4 o'clock in the morning to get our exercise in so that we can have a meaningful time with our kids before our day starts and we go to work. And then you can find us answering emails and things before we go to bed and doing a little bit of social media maintenance.
Listening to books in the car.
We listen to books in the car. We don't drink. We like to have, hydrate and keep careful count of our nutrition. So it's this ongoing process of making our lives, I think, match that better. But one of the biggest blessings of being an entrepreneur, even though restaurant industry is hard, even though every entrepreneur industry is hard, is that time freedom piece. You're still going to work 16 hours a day, but you're going to pick which 16 hours of the day you want to work. And that can be really, I think, liberating for a lot of people. And certainly for us, you got to design your schedule a little bit more creatively, but you can't get it all in there if you're disciplined about it.
Wow. Yeah. I heard a lot of great tips, even for people who aren't, most people who are entrepreneurs hopefully are listening to this, but I'm sure they can all relate to a lot of that, trying to be running the family. And how do you figure out what are the things that I'm good at? And then, like you said, stacking the deck to make sure that I know what I'm good at. I know what I'm not so good at. Who can come in to help me with those things that I'm not so good at? Yeah. Or even the things that I, like you said, with having a nanny, the things that you aren't doing right now. Mm-hmm. Excellent. Yeah. So I know that COVID has really changed a lot of businesses, and I'm sure the restaurant industry was hit pretty hard with that. What do you see has shifted since COVID? And what kinds of things are you putting into place to change and transform because of it?
It's interesting. I feel like a lot of people are referring to COVID as a past tense because of the shutdowns that happened earlier in the year. But we're still not recovered and in the middle of it. Obviously, there are mandates across the nation that are requiring restaurants and facilities to be at half capacity or 25% capacity, or in some places in California, they can only sit outside. And so, March 18th, our shutdowns happened here in Reno, Nevada, and everything, we went to go and curbside only, and we saw an 85% drop in revenue literally overnight. So it was really shocking to have the financial rug swept out from underneath us. We have a huge team. Our parents are retired, and all of that depends on this giant financial engine that continues to run forward. And so it was interesting. One of our team members said recently, "I'm just so grateful that you kept me because you trained me how to do my job. You could have just done my job and let me go." And I said to her that it literally never even crossed my mind. That wasn't even something I had ever even considered in the midst of that, because we're so dedicated to our people. And so we had to take a lot of fast action when it came to shutdowns. But in regards to long-term changes, things like sanitization measures have gone up. We've had to really get creative in our outdoor dining because of the limited capacity inside. As the cold weather is starting to come forward, that's being more and more of a challenge. We had to institute more team meetings, more leadership meetings. Obviously, we're not having our in-person events that we normally would for our managers and things like that. So it's been a little bit, not a little bit, it's been a bit of an adjustment. And we've had to, financially do a lot of creative things, and it certainly isn't over. There is a lot more work to come in the future as the second wave continues to just rock itself.
Right. If we look at it from kind of that macro perspective, I think we really see this big push not coming back from the technological push. So we were 2 years ahead of the curve. Thank God we had gone to that, where you're signing on a screen, you're not exchanging pieces of paper and those kinds of things, and like a wait list where you can text people, right? So because you can't have a waiting room right now. So I think technologically in the industry, you're not going to see those things go back. A QR code that goes to the menu. In fact, we see real opportunity in that space. Somebody is going to come out as a leader in the searchable QR code menu space. So if you're an entrepreneur out there and you're looking for an idea, that might be a good one to explore. So we see this technological space happening also for our associates. It's definitely been a major shift, and it likely will not come back for a long time, is getting to be, we've always been hospitality, right? Like, this is our industry. We are going to make you happy. We are guest side service. Like, we are service. And everyone in our industry, from hotels to restaurants to bars and nightclubs, have to now be compliance, aka health and safety first, then hospitality. And so the primary role is now about enforcement, and that's brand new for everyone in this space, in the hospitality
including
space.
Including our guests.
They're, they don't like standing up to go to the bathroom and somebody having to say, "Excuse me, you need to put your mask on before you go do that." But in order to ensure our safety, and we've said from the very beginning, look, if our business has to die so that people don't, done. Not like human life is not worth economic exchange, but obviously we want to protect our family business, and we're going to fight like hell to protect the jobs for our people and what we've created and the impact we can have on our community. But this additional layer of having to be compliance and enforcement, and then hospitality is definitely a shift that I think it's going to take some getting used to. And we're taking a lot of cues from our favorite company, Disney, on how to do that.
Yeah, they do it right, man. They do, definitely. And they are one of the leaders in hospitality, and it sounds like they don't goof around. Well, that's a good place to look.
Some ways
they kind of goof, they goofy around.
They goofy around, but when it comes to hospitality and for sure. So looking forward, knowing that COVID is here for a bit, I mean, we don't know for how long necessarily. what do you see in 12 years? What do you want people saying and talking about you and your business in like, let's say not 12 years, 12 months to 5 years,
I'm doing all the math in my head. I'm like 12 years.
I got all excited.
2032,
you know how much can happen in 12 years? Like, oh, that's exciting. But in the next 12 months, our goal is to make $1 in 2020. Like if we could just somehow come out of this having broken even, right, at zero. And we're so far underwater right now that that's not looking possible, but we're applying for every little community grant. We're getting all kinds of different little pieces that are helping. And so, that's kind of the goal. So I think in 12 months from right now, we'd really like to see ourselves being well positioned in that to go curbside industry, like being good at it, not just perfunctory at it, but good at it and a leader in it, because that's the position in the market that we like to be. We'd also like to see all of our franchisees doing really well in their communities and all of our revenue having recovered and being able to look at growth opportunities for our people and for our organization again. But if the name of the game in 2020 was survive, I think the name of the game in 2021 is to let that continue to progress and protect that survival, and maybe let a few little seedlings come up too.
Yes, seedlings sprouting and protecting. In some other projects, 2021 is not just the year to survive, but the year to thrive.
Oh yeah.
And on some personal entrepreneurial things that we can't talk about yet because the deals aren't finalized, but we will be able to talk about it here in a couple of weeks. We've got some really exciting things coming in 2021, some things that are game changing for not just us, but for a lot of people who are going to be positively impacted by what's coming to market. So we're excited to be a part of that. I wish we could say more, but we'll have the opportunity to maybe do a follow-up later on.
Perfect. Yeah, that sounds great. Good. So I have just one more question, probably the most important question. So how can I serve you?
That's a beautiful question.
Oh, so nice.
We're really not selling anything right now unless someone wants to buy a Squeeze In, which is the name of our restaurant. But it's not a great time and we didn't do a very good sales pitch early on. But we would love your support on social media or online. So visiting kayandshai.com, signing up for our daily email. Like we said, we're not selling you something except maybe your own growth. We bring you a quote from a famous person every day. We give you a little way to apply it to your own life. We've got a Facebook group that helps support that, and the 5-minute podcast, a transcription, and then of course the featured quote of the day. So we would love to have you along on the quest with us.
Awesome. We can do that for sure. And just getting more likes and more information out there to other people just so they can hear. And then how many weeks until the next launch of this next surprise?
we know we're going to be able to talk about it in the new year. Hopefully we're going to be able to officially talk about things here within the next 3 to 4 weeks.
Hopefully by the end of November, we'll be making some big announcements.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, we'll have to have another interview once the big announcements come, and then we'll
love to.
Then we'll hear more about it. Now we've got, a little bit of surprise, the element of
teaser.
Yeah.
Teaser. Yeah. Well, great. Thank you, ladies, so much for taking the time out to talk to me today. And thanks for being so candid and sharing so much about yourselves and how you came to where you are. We all come from somewhere. We all have a story to get to where we are somehow. So thank you so much for just sharing everything with us today.
Yeah, thank you, Monica. It was a pleasure to be on with you, and we are excited to continue to add value to your audience and would love to add value in any way that we can.
Mm-hmm.